Enzo.
And I'm Reina.
And this is the Date Night Horror Show. So, Reina, do you want to tell the listeners where we are right now?
Yes. So we are in Arizona in this little cabin in the woods. And it's pretty creepy.
Near Williams, Arizona.
Yeah, near Williams.
So my niece, Cassandra, she just graduated from college. So we had to come up here, as a family thing to show our support for her graduation from Northern Arizona University. And so we were planning this trip, and we thought, well, you know what? Why don't we see if there's a cabin around here so we can stay in a cabin?
Because we've been wanting to do that.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do that. And then we thought, well, why don't we just take our microphones with us? Because our setup's a portable setup, so we can record anywhere. It's battery powered and everything. So we thought, okay, yeah, let's do that. So what have you thought about?
So here we are, cabin in the woods. Well, it's not as creepy as I thought it would be.
See, I disagree.
Really?
I think it's creepier.
Why?
Have you gone outside? It is pitch black outside.
Yeah, it is pitch black outside, and it's cold.
And what happens is the trees, because there's a lot of tall pines around here, they kind of create
a whisper.
No, they make you see. It makes you feel like you're seeing people.
Oh,
is that a person in between the trees? Or I walked out a little bit yesterday, and I get it. I get why people are creeped out. Neither one of us grew up near a forest. In fact, the forests around Nogales, they're where we're from.
With desert. Yeah,
it's really more of a desert forest. So being around tall trees is kind of newer for us. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I think it's super creepy.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I didn't go outside yesterday just because it was freezing.
Yeah, and then there aren't any street lights around here either.
No,
so
it's dark.
It's dark and creepy, and it's awesome.
And there's no people around.
Yeah, it's very, very quiet. There are other houses around us.
I think I haven't seen anyone.
But we haven't seen anyone around, really. So you can tell people are kind of keep to themselves a bit. So yeah, it's a perfect setting to do this cabin themed episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we're planning for this episode is to list our top 10 plus favorite cabin in the woods related horror films.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess we should talk about why even that exists. Why it's such a good setting.
Oh my God, so many reasons.
Yeah.
Well, one, it's because you feel isolated.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the movies are one person in a cabin or, a small family that are isolated. No one else is around.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get help if you need it because no one can hear you scream. Lots of hiding places. Like you said, there's a lot of trees and, forestry stuff. And I don't know. It's great. Is that wrong?
I'm looking at you right now because you have your glasses on. Reina doesn't usually wear glasses, and she looks so cute with them.
I need them. It's sad.
You look like a sexy secretary.
Oh. I'm blushing now.
Sorry, but yeah, I agree. I think the sense of isolation, even in here, there are other houses nearby, but it's really quiet out here. And then again, it's very dark outside.
Yeah. People probably wouldn't open their door.
Yeah,
I don't know because I'd be scared too. I don't know.
It sets a really good stage for intimate horror, isolated intimate horror. And I think that's why it's such a trope. I mean, I kind of lean more towards intimate horror anyway. You know, of course, things like apocalypse films they can be intimate if you choose an isolated story.
Yeah.
But I think you can go a lot deeper at times when it's only a few people.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of the times the cabin horror, it's a small subset of people. Yeah. It's not this grand apocalyptic event.
Yeah.
So
I think too, like, it's also not your house, so you don't know where everything is either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Or their vacation homes and not everyone is around, you know?
Yeah.
So,
But you also don't just know where everything is. You know,
Yeah.
like, it's not your stuff.
yeah.
So you don't know where, like, the weapons are and stuff.
I really like the glass.
Oh my God. Stop it.
Sorry.
It's so weird. And then, like, the freeway is, like, 10 miles away driving.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then of course there's all these great classic horror films. I don't know if we're gonna go that far into those. Like,
Yeah.
of course, Friday the 13th.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think it definitely got everyone to think about a cabin and kind of. We're gonna try to pick the ones we enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
You know. Try not to go too obvious with it. So don't be pissed off if, you know, there aren't any hockey masks in this episode.
Yeah.
So-
They didn't go with a hockey mask, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Sure. So the first one I chose is Mama.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's 2013. It was co-written and directed by Andy Muschietti and produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
And it's basically about this father that loses all of this money and kills, goes on a killing spree and kills his estranged wife and then flees with his daughters. And they get into this car accident. So he takes them to this nearby abandoned cabin. And his plan is to kill them and kill himself.
Right.
And one of the little girls in the accident injures her eye.
Uh-huh.
And so he tells her to look out a window, and as he's about to shoot her, this shadowy figure
Yeah.
kills him.
Yeah.
And so the girls live in this cabin for about 5 years. And the uncle, who's an identical twin, does this search party for them and eventually finds them. But when he finds them, they're feral because
Right.
they've been in the woods for 5 years.
Yeah.
And this entity,
Yeah.
Mama, has taken care of them for the 5 years. So she follows them. And the uncle has a wife, a girlfriend or a wife, I can't remember. But the entity starts to get jealous as
Yeah.
she forms a relationship with
Yeah. With the kids. Yeah.
And then all this shit happens. And I'm not going to give it away at the end, but the girls struggle with their loyalty to Mama and their growing relationship with this woman who's played by Jessica Chastain.
Chastain, yeah, I remember. She has black hair in it. And
she
she's in a
does.
band, and she's all rocker.
Yeah.
rocker chick.
It's funny to see her that way,
Yeah.
but she was good.
You know, I love that you picked this movie. This movie's a really good choice. I think what I enjoyed most about Mama was the feral kids, because usually when you see a creepy kid, you're not really on their side.
Yeah,
Do you know
you're
what I mean?
not. And
Because
these kids are creepy. They're creepy,
They're creepy,
but they have. Who can blame them?
Yeah, it's not their fault, and you kind of admire them because they learned to
They survived.
survive. Yeah, and they're very resilient,
Yeah.
and what they've been through is kind of, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's cool because everyone, because the stepmom Jessica Chastain, she sees Mama
Yeah.
and she's totally creeped out by it, and it's such a funny contrast because the girls are not scared of her at all.
Yeah. That's a
They're
good point
scared
too.
of what she may do to her,
Yeah.
but they're not afraid of her.
Yeah, because she's the one, she's been their
Yeah.
protector. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's what's interesting about this film in general is that you have dual feelings about each component. So like the feral kids, you're creeped out by them, but you feel for them,
Yeah.
and you're on their side. They're kind of
yeah.
the protagonists in many
Right.
ways. And then Mama, you're scared of Mama, the entity,
Yeah.
but then you admire her because she has this maternal instinct, you know,
Yeah.
even in death. Like I think every part of this movie, you have this kind of duality in feeling, in emotion.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting film.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Mama, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think one thing I would say about Mama is that there's shots that are a little CG for me, a little too CG for me. But I think overall the film is definitely worth watching.
It's good. It's more creepy than scary, I think. It's
Yeah.
just more creepy. But it's still worth the watch.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. We saw it in the theater too. I remember seeing it.
And you said you had a reveal about the director, Andy Muschietti?
Yeah, he moved on to do It.
Very cool.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the evolution there. And what I think is cool about that is that the It sequences that are CG, they're not overly CG. So I think there's some learning there. There's some evolution there. Cool.
Yeah. What's yours?
Okay, so my first one is like this idyllic cabin in the woods sort of film. Mainly because of the setting. It's The Honeymoon. It's a 2014 film. Stars Rose Leslie, you'll know her from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then Harry Treadaway, and he plays the husband. And he was in Attack the Block, which I loved. So it's a story about this young couple and their newlyweds, and they go to this cabin. It's the bride's family's cabin.
Yeah.
And they're ridiculously head over heels in love.
Really cute.
Yeah, they're really into each other, and they have this really cute, endearing relationship. Super passionate. You know. Yeah. It's really, it depicts it really well. Very believable between these two characters. The actors clearly have chemistry there.
Yeah, they had really good chemistry.
Yeah. Over the course of this honeymoon they take at this cabin, strange things start to happen. Specifically to the bride character. She starts to behave really strangely. Sort of like she's pretending that she is who she is. And of course, they have an intimacy and a physical intimacy. So he notices right away, that one, she's not quite laughing at his jokes the same way she used to. And two, she's not as physically affectionate, but she's trying to be, but in a very weird, strange way.
Yeah, and then do you remember they go to this restaurant and they encounter this dude?
Yeah.
And he gets really jealous, but it's like her childhood friend.
Yeah, and you can tell that there was probably like a little summer romance.
Yeah,
between
like
them when
at
they were
one
younger.
point.
Yeah, and he's acting very strangely
Very
as well.
strange. And the husband goes to him when he notices the behavior. I think it got especially bad when she sleptwalked into the forest. And the guy acted like he didn't know what he was talking about. She seemed completely normal.
Yeah.
But he was really odd also.
the way I would describe this film, it's like if you were to do a body snatcher film, but it only involves two people, this young couple.
Yeah.
And the way this film is done, the sense of dread in the film is really great. And it's very strange at times.
She does some weird stuff.
Yeah. I really like this film. This film is very nuanced. Highly recommend it. And then it takes place in this picturesque area
really nice.
with beautiful lake and amazing forests, and it's a really great film.
Yeah.
It's a really good date night horror film.
It is a really good
because
one.
it involves relationships.
You're right.
That sort of thing.
And then it gets really creepy and scary.
And then I feel like great cabin films, they get very creepy. And this film gets very creepy.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. 2014. The Honeymoon. Check it out. It's a good one.
It is a good one. That's a good choice. So my next choice is 2005's Wolf Creek, the movie.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've mentioned it before, but Wolf Creek's, if people haven't seen this, they need to see this.
Yeah. So it's about it's based on a loosely on a true story. About 3 road trippers in Australia,
Right.
and they come across this local, and he appears to be very friendly
Yeah.
and, you know, wants to show them the sights or whatever, and he's this total serial killer.
Right. And in this case, it's not really a cabin in the woods.
No, but it's a
it's
remote
it's a
house in Australia.
Yeah, it's a similar
It could
scenario.
be, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess when we say cabin in the woods, it doesn't necessarily have to be
Just a remote,
remote area
Area.
away from civilization.
yeah. And this serial killer does some really disturbing
Oh
kills.
my god. Yeah.
These are definitely like make it stop, look away, peek through your fingers.
Listeners, those who know who have started to know our tastes and know how Reina leans towards the brutal.
I do.
This is a classic choice for her because Wolf Creek is extremely brutal.
It's very brutal,
brutal
very
film.
violent. It's a
Yeah,
very
it's
violent
scary,
film. So
scary.
if violence isn't your thing, don't watch it because it is very, very,
Yeah.
very brutal.
Yeah,
And
that's a great one.
Yeah, and it was directed by Greg McLean. Yeah, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think the setting of Australia is a really good choice because Australia is known for having things out there in the bush that can kill you, you know, and so it just feels like a really treacherous place.
Yeah,
And so this serial killer, he's like an Uber serial killer too.
Yeah.
So it kind
Brutal.
of has the same. You know, he's a, you know, that's not a knife, that's a knife, and that sort of thing.
yeah.
He always has his
And he lures
crazy
them in with-
weaponry and yeah,
Being friendly, and it just has a really grim
yeah, oh, super grim.
ending.
Don't say any don't say any more.
Yeah, so that's my pick. So what's your next one?
Okay, so my next choice is a movie that I really love called The Eyes of My Mother.
Oh yeah,
I love this movie.
yeah. It's a great movie.
It's probably in my top 10 horror movies I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's also a remote cabin, woodsy area, kind of rural area. Can you read the synopsis?
Sure. A young, lonely woman is consumed by her deepest and darkest desires after tragedy strikes her quiet country life.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's about this American family of Portuguese immigrants that live in a rural area, and it's a mother, a daughter, and a father. The young girl is named Francesca, and something really, really bad happens to the family.
Yeah.
And basically, the story of the film is how she learns to deal with that tragedy and how she moves into adulthood.
Yeah.
Let's just put it to you this way. She doesn't deal with it well.
No, well, she grew up very isolated, so she wasn't very connected to anyone outside her parents.
Yeah. And her mother used to be a physician in her other country. And she would operate on the eyes of cows and things like that. And she was teaching her daughter. She was teaching her
That's
daughter
right.
everything she knew. And that comes into play much later. This film is so dark and creepy,
It's so creepy.
but it's also extremely
There's
elegant.
a lot of
It is an art film. It is a straight up
Yeah,
art film.
yeah.
You know how when people say, "Oh, you got to see The Witch," you know, because it's beautiful. The Witch is a beautiful film. This one is just as beautiful. It's black and white,
yeah. It's cool that it's shot in black and white.
but it has some of the darkest scenes I've
Oh
seen
my
in
gosh.
horror in a long time. And again,
Very dark.
nuanced in a nuanced way, in a
Yeah.
very, very creepy way. I highly recommend this movie.
I do too. It's
This
a really
movie's
good
so
one.
great.
We always recommend this one when anyone's asking us for a horror film.
Yeah, and it's
Just
one of
one of
those
them.
things like, you know, some movies just get overlooked, you know, and some movies have the luck of becoming indie darlings, like The Witch, for
Yeah.
example. And then there's other movies that are just as good, have just as many merits, are just as artful, are just as creepy, are just as scary, and no one knows about them.
Do you think it's the black and white turns people off?
Maybe.
Because it looks somehow, and I'm putting air quotes, dated or something?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the film, it feels very modern. The way it looks,
Yeah.
the way it's shot is very modern, but it also has a timelessness. And again, I know I've talked about this movie during our millennial
Yeah.
episodes, but I need to bring it up again because this movie, if you missed it, you gotta watch this movie.
I agree.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
This movie is great, and it's also in a cabin setting, remote setting.
Countryside.
I feel like the loneliness of that is also part of the motives of the bad stuff that happens.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the underlying motive of all of that. Yeah, look for it. Eyes of My Mother, 2016. Highly, highly, highly recommend that movie. Great cabin film. Do you have your next one?
Yeah, so my next one is 2007 Funny Games. Do you remember that
Oh
one?
my God. See, listeners, this is classic right now. This is also another brutal film.
It's brutal. So it has Naomi Watts and Tim Roth in it. It's directed by Michael Haneke. And it's about a family. It's the parents and their son go to their lake house. Mm-hmm. And when they get there, it's pretty deserted. Like there aren't a lot of people around, but their neighbor
remote.
is there. And they see him with these two young men.
Yeah.
But he's acting like nervous and weird and stuff like that. And so these two young men end up wreaking all kinds of havoc on this family. And it's brutal.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting when I think of this movie, the first thing that comes to mind is Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Like it very much the brutality of Clockwork Orange, those brutal scenes. This movie reminds me of that. It's also based off a German film. I don't know if you remember, we saw the German version
No,
as well.
I forgot about that.
I think they're both good. The American film doesn't deviate that far. It still has the same energy and spirit.
He did the German film.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah, he just remade it.
Yeah. See,
It was 1997, and then he remade it in 2007.
yeah, that's how Hollywood should do it.
Yeah.
Keep the same thing. Okay. You want to what?
Yeah, so it's really awesome. So it's they of course they hold them hostage, they torture, they have some really make it stop moments.
I think the performances of the
The
actors too is
performances
really
are really
nuanced.
good. Naomi Watts is great, and Tim Roth. I mean,
Yeah, and the young guys who are
yeah.
because they're oh man,
And they tell them it's a game. We're gonna play a game.
right.
So that's even creepier because they're like, we're gonna play a game, and and then all the kinds of stuff happens, and it's all based on games. Like they take bets with each other, these two guys, and
Yeah,
they just do some really sick stuff.
yeah. It's a very creepy film.
Yeah, so you should watch it if you haven't ever heard of it. It's Funny Games, really good.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Okay, so my next one's kind of controversial, sort of, but not really. I think if you're a real horror fan, it's not that controversial. It's the Evil Dead 2013 remake. That film is awesome.
That's a super great date night movie.
It's a great date night movie.
Yeah.
It's a great remake. I almost feel like, of course we love the classic Evil Dead, but come on, let's be honest. There's elements of it that are very, very dated.
Yeah.
And even just the film quality of it. I have a soft spot for it.
Of course.
But I feel like this remake, it's almost like Raimi going, oh yeah, this is how I really wanted it to be. Because Raimi, I think he executive produces it, so he was involved. And it's very obvious because, again, the spirit is there, but the production value is there. It is so incredibly fun. Like
it's a fun movie.
It's fun, but it rides this great line of, humor and also scare.
Yeah.
And I think it leans a little more towards scare in this one.
yeah.
So
It
it's
has
just
brutal
more
moments.
effective. It's just
Yeah.
more effective. And yeah. Well, I remember we went to see it in the theater and I was very skeptical. I
Yeah.
was very skeptical.
I remember.
And then I was just like punched in the face with how good it was. And then I went online. I'm like, wow, this was great. And then I found out Raimi was involved. I didn't know he was involved.
okay.
So I think that one is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you have not seen that remake, it is fantastic.
It's good. And like he said, we love the old one, but this one just kind of got a little upgrade as far as like effects.
It feels like an
and-
upgrade. Yeah,
and-
that's a great way of putting
Yeah.
it. Feels like
and film quality.
more consistent acting, better actors consistently all the way through. I love Bruce Campbell. I'm not dissing Bruce Campbell when I say that, but I think the film just is really, really effective and scary and ridiculously entertaining if you're a horror fan. So check that one out.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2013 remake.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Next.
My next
Give
one
us-
is really, I want to watch this again. I really loved this movie. Hush.
Oh yeah.
I love this movie, 2016. And it's about a deaf writer that goes to the woods to write a book. She's an author. And she has a writer's block. So she goes to the woods to try to deal with that. And she encounters some weirdo, stalker,
Yeah.
serial killer. And what makes it scary is one, she's in an isolated cabin. And two, she's deaf.
Yeah.
So that all really plays into the story. And the actress is Kate Siegel. You probably know her from the Netflix original.
Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the
then
adult
John
Theo.
Gallagher Jr.,
Right.
who comes out in it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really scary because
Yeah.
you just,
It's a nail biter.
because you see what's happening and she can't hear it.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like,
then, And then it's very, very well established that she's alone. Mm-hmm. And then it's one of those like modern cabins that have really big windows.
Yeah.
So the slasher can see in very easily. He can understand the situation very easily.
And at
She has
first
to
he
hide
just
from
taunts
him.
her because
Yeah.
he doesn't know she's deaf.
Oh, he's having a great time, I think.
Yeah.
Like that's what's creepy about
And
it.
then he figures out that she's deaf, so he just really messes with her.
Yeah.
Like he fucks with her hard. Like it's bad.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that got overlooked, I think.
Oh, yeah.
that
100%,
not a lot of people know
absolutely.
about, and I think it's a total nail biter.
Oh my gosh.
I also think
Relentless.
if you have friends who prefer thrillers,
Yeah.
like
I
it's
agree with
more
that.
it is a horror film, but there's definitely
Yeah,
a thriller,
definitely.
more of a thriller element to it.
Yeah.
That's a great choice.
I love that movie. Okay, what's yours?
Okay, so my next film is 2009's Antichrist.
Oh man, this one's brutal.
It's brutal, but it's nightmarishly beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
it's
yeah.
so well shot. And then there's of course the cabin setting, woods setting. At the beginning of the film, something happens with their son, and it's really, really tragic. But without spoiling anything, there's a sub thing going on. There's things going on under the veil of those scenes. Mm-hmm. And I think when you watch the film all the way through and you find out what happens all the way through, those scenes take on a completely different feeling.
Yeah.
It is brooding and scary. Like
It's really
This
scary.
film is really scary to
Yeah.
me. Like it was really disturbing. It's interesting because one of my friends had seen it, and I said, "Oh yeah, I heard this film was banned all over the place." And he's a European, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I saw it, and I know why it was banned." And I think it was banned because of one scene. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that scene is really brutal and shocking.
Yeah.
But this film is really dark. Like
Well, I think it's 'cause it's a woman.
slithering dark.
That's the
Yes.
dark one.
And what it's saying about her is really, really disturbing and creepy.
yeah.
I mean, this film is great. And then Willem Dafoe, he's such a great counter element to
Yeah.
her and kind of her psychotic energy. To me, this film, if you like stuff like Hereditary, a little bit more elegant, a little bit more nuanced, but still very potent.
Yeah.
Antichrist is a really scary film.
It's
Very,
really
very
scary.
scary film.
What's sad is he's so desperate to try to save her that he'll do anything, and he just gets brutalized. It's awful.
Oh man. And I remember there's scenes where the camera pulls way, way, way back, and you see the tree line. You see all the trees. You see the house, and all of it. It's kind of a nightmarish view of it. Like it's beautiful, but it's also there's such a foreboding quality to how the film is shot, and then that first scene with the child.
Yeah.
There's this movie is creepy.
It's very creepy
and scary.
Very creepy.
Highly recommend that.
Yeah.
Do you have your next one?
So my last one is 2010's I Spit on Your Grave.
Okay.
Which is a total revenge movie, but it's about it's about this writer who rents an isolated cabin so she can work on her latest novel, and she encounters some really disgusting men.
Oh my God!
That brutalize her.
It's funny because of course you have the original, which for its time was, oh my God, it was transgressive and subversive and really, really shocking for its time. So, I had talked to Reina about this film, and I said, "Oh, have you seen the original?" She's like, "No." And so we're looking for it, and we don't find the original. It's not available. We find the remake.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, okay, this thing's gonna get neutered a bit, so maybe it'll be more.
And I didn't believe him,
palpable.
to be honest. I didn't believe
That's
you because
not a good word to use. So maybe the remake would be a little less harsh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no.
And it's funny because I remember when you said we should watch it, the name is kind of, I don't know. I was kind of put off by the name of the film. I
In what
Spit on
way?
Your Grave. I don't know. It just didn't.
Like it's hokey?
Yeah. It seemed like one of those, like, my boyfriend is a zombie or some bullshit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
But oh my goodness, so they brutalize her and they leave her for dead.
And dude, those scenes, scenes
Very uncomfortable.
they're very uncomfortable, really hard to watch.
Yeah.
But if you can get through those moments, the revenge part of it is, oh my God.
So when they leave her for dead, as I was saying. Rude.
Yeah.
And so of course she just comes back and destroys them.
Yeah.
But it is so good. And I Spit on Your Grave too is really good also.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. This movie, like especially if you like movies like the latest Revenge, that movie Revenge, I feel it's kind of an homage to those early revenge fantasy films. But I thought the remake was pretty good.
I thought it was really good.
And it did not, oh my God, it did not pull any punches.
No,
it
did not.
really hard to watch. Again, this is Reina's territory. She likes those brutal films.
Oh my God, it's so
And,
good.
yeah,
But I'm not gonna lie, it was even a little uncomfortable for me.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
Obviously what they do to her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, you're saying
when she does,
yeah.
I mean, you want her to?
Yeah.
Because it was what
Of
they
course,
did.
Yeah.
But wow, whew.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it was really good though. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. Now you ready for your last one?
Yes, I'm ready for my last one.
What's your last one?
And my last one is going to bookend with my first one.
Oh, okay.
So,
Nice.
because the two films are very similar. My choice is the 2018 What Keeps You Alive. And we reviewed this movie
I love this
recently
movie.
because it's a recent film in our Mad Love episode. So if you haven't
Yeah.
heard that, listen to that for a more in-depth review. So basically, it's a story about a lesbian couple that are newlyweds, and they go to a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, gorgeous cabin.
Yeah. That's owned by one of the bride's family. So it's really similar to the honeymoon. But the difference in this film is one of the women has a secret that she's been hiding. And even though they've been married over a year, because I think it's an anniversary
It's an anniversary trip.
throughout the course of the trip, the other a partner finds out what this secret is, and it is a shocking and scary.
Well, you don't see it coming.
Yeah, you don't see it coming at all. And I'm not going to ruin it, but one of the women, she's not who she appears to be. And I'll just keep it vague like that. And once you know what she is she is brutal and scary, and yeah, it is a cat and mouse thriller horror film. And again, the setting is beautiful. They're on this lake, this beautiful cabin.
Yeah.
It's almost like a cabin mansion.
It is. It's huge.
Yeah, and the shots of nature are great too. But in between this,
brutal.
You have this cat and mouse between these two characters,
and it's brutal.
Yeah, and it's incredible. Again, it's relatively new, and it's really worth seeing.
It is.
I'm not going to say much more about it because, again, we spoke about it in depth in our Mad Love episode. And we even mentioned the actors and everything. So if you want to know more about it, check it out. But if you haven't seen it, don't let it slip through the cracks, because this movie is really good. It's one of my favorites of 2018.
Yeah, I was really.
Yeah, What Keeps
really
You
happy.
Alive 2018. Find it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I have an honorable mention.
Okay, I was about to ask you that.
Yeah. So it's 2018. It's pretty recent. It's called He's Out There.
Oh, okay.
Remember that one? It's about, again, it's a remote lake house. And this woman and her two young daughters go out ahead of the husband's going to meet them there later.
Right.
And they fall into this really bizarre, terrifying nightmare with this psychopath. He's just like brutal.
Yeah. I think my favorite parts of that movie were the things the psychopath would do. Like the creepy.
Yeah, really creepy.
He would kind of lure them into the woods, and, he'd put things out for them to see and that sort of thing.
And lure them.
Yeah, that stuff was really cool. And the actress from Handmaid's Tale comes out in that, right?
Yeah. Her name is Yvonne Stravosky.
Okay. Yeah, she plays the wife of the commander in Handmaid's Tale. And in that role, she never smiles. And in this movie, she's like this sweet mom.
Yeah.
And she's always smiling and
really in love with her husband.
Yeah. So it's really neat to see that actress do that role.
Yeah.
Because you see this other side of who she is. And I thought she was effective in it.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was really creepy. And it's cool because it's a really small cast, because it's the mom and daughter and then the psycho for the most part.
Again, intimate.
Yeah, very intimate. And then the dad comes, and it's really brutal. And it's just one of those, every time you think they're going to be safe, something happens.
Yeah. I think that movie, it plays on a lot of horror tropes. But I mean, if you're a horror fan, sometimes you just want that. You know what I mean?
This is a good date movie.
Okay, yeah, I just want to check this out. And I thought it was cool. Again, I think seeing her in that role is interesting as well.
This is a good stay-at-home movie, and it's on Prime Video right now.
Yeah, and if you want to see a cabin film, this is a cabin film. It has all the elements. So yeah, I think that's a good honorable choice.
Yeah, I liked
honorable
it.
mention.
I enjoyed it. Well, what's your honorable mention? Do you have one?
Yeah, I have one honorable mention. It's Cabin in the Woods. And the reason we have to mention Cabin in the
Woods.
If we're doing a Cabin in the Woods episode, we got to mention it, because that's the whole point of it.
Of course.
It's taking that trope and kind of mocking it in a strange way. Also paying respect to it and paying respect to horror, period.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, these teenagers go to a cabin in the woods, and when they get there, all these bad things start happening to them. But what's interesting about this film is that
Thor's in it?
Yeah, he's in it. What's interesting about this film is that there's a lot more going on under the hood.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole story
a cool twist.
of Cabin in the Woods, is like, Imagine if there was under all of these horror situations, there was an organization that's making this stuff happen. Again, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil too much for you. I think that's vague enough. It's not spoilery,
Okay.
I think. Look, if I don't say something, people are going to go, it's just a cabin
I
film.
got you.
I have to say a little.
Give me dirty looks. Give me mad dog dirty looks right now.
Well, it's a very meta film. It has horror and humor in there. It's extremely effective, both in the humor and the horror. And it's also, I think, a love letter to horror films.
Yeah.
You'll know all the tropes.
Yeah.
You'll be excited when they mention them because they're all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
It is awesome.
2011.
It's so funny too, because when that movie came out, I didn't want to see it in the theater because I thought it was going to mock horror too much.
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
some friends went to see it, and they're like, "You need to see this film. You'll love it. You'll love it." And you know, I kind of dug my heels in, and I said, "I'm not gonna," because they're not really that big of horror fans either. So I was just, I'm not going to sit there and watch horror be mocked.
Yeah.
Like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
There's a difference, you know?
Yeah.
This is like they find the humor in a really horrific, awesome horror movie
Yeah.
situation. It's not, oh, let's make fun of everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was
I
awesome.
didn't expect the twist, so I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it is playing on Prime Video.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah. Worth buying too, I think. I think I bought it already.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay, cool. I think we're done with a
We're done with our creepy cabin in the woods.
creepy cabin curation.
Dark corners of the internet.
Hey Reina, we have a new segment.
Ooh, what is it?
It's called Dark Corners of the Internet.
Whoa.
So I figured we could share our favorite online sources for different things horror related. So do you want to kick this one off?
Sure. So I picked Creepsville 666, and Creeps is with a K.
Okay.
So it's creepsville666.com. And they have really cool clothing, handbags, jewelry, accessories, men and women's.
Uh-huh.
It's Elvira heavy, so if you love Elvira, they have a lot of different things like hoodies, shirts, dresses, purses. But a couple of my favorite things on here is they have a really awesome eyeball purse,
Okay.
an eyeball umbrella to match, which is really cute.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I love it. And my favorite, and I must have my pennies for it, is this really cool skull purse. It comes in black and green, but the black one is really cool.
Yeah, they
I
have some
love it.
really interesting stuff.
But they have really cool stuff. Like I said, they have bats. They have cool hoodies. They have really cool leggings. They have leggings that have like bats on them, stitching. They have a few different ones. The only thing is if you're a heftier girl like myself, the sizes they do go up to 3XL, except they're a conservative 3XL.
Okay.
But still, check it out. They have cute bracelets and jewelry and hair accessories.
So it's pretty much a goth girl's dream.
And men's, you bought your case for your tablet from Creepsville 666. It's
Yeah,
the Tales
it's
of the Crypt.
It's a Tales from the
Cover.
Crypt EC Comics. It looks just like a EC comic. It's awesome.
Yeah, they have Tales from the Crypt. They have Vampira stuff,
Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks. Really,
All
really
sorts of
cute
really
stuff.
cool
So
stuff.
if you're looking for something cool, a cool little accessory, a purse, some cool tank tops or hoodies, Creepsville666.com. Creepsville with a K.
Cool.
What about you, Enzo? What'd you find?
Okay, so the website I'm going to talk about is called houseofmysteriousSecrets.com. This website, it's like the Amazon for horror. Like they have tons of stuff, and it's all really great. They have action figures, all horror related action figures, clothing, shirts, caps, beanies, accessories, houseware. Like,
Yeah.
they
I
have
almost chose that one too.
it's crazy. They have all sorts of stuff: wallets, pins, magnets.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. So for Christmas, Reina gave me a new makeup case for all of my horror related makeup art stuff. And the first thing I wanted to do was get a bunch of stickers of horror movies and put it on there. That way it didn't look so basic.
Right.
And really show my horror love. So I went to this website and I've just found tons of
Oh, that's where you got your
awesome
stickers?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And their stuff's so great. And they have classic t-shirts, everything, God, dating way, way, way back to like the 80s and before the 80s to now. They have masks and props. They have posters, really well selected. Like, you can tell this stuff is curated by horror fans.
Oh, that's cool.
And then whenever you order anything, they'll give you stickers as well, and then they'll give you coupons for your next purchase. So I highly recommend this website. They have really, really great stuff. It's called houseofmysteriousSecrets.com.
Awesome.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah. The stickers you put on your makeup boxes are cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to show a picture of that. And
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You can share some pictures of the stuff you got.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And what's it called?
Creepsville666.com. Creepsville with a K.
Cool.
And now, our feature review.
Okay, Reina, I guess it's time for this week's feature review.
Ooh, okay.
It is the movie The Ranger. It's 2018. And the reason we're adding this to this episode is because, one, it is a cabin film.
Yes.
Cabin in the Woods film. And two, it was recently added to Shudder. If you guys don't have Shudder, it's really worth getting. It's pretty much the Netflix of horror. One of my goals is to eventually be sponsored by Shudder because I love them so much.
They're awesome.
And yeah, they just added this movie. I had been hearing a lot of things about this film, and I figured it would be the perfect cabin feature review. So, do you want to read the synopsis for us?
Sure. It's teen punks on the run from the cops and hiding out in the woods come up against the local authority, an unhinged park ranger with an axe to grind.
That's pretty much
And
it.
it stars Chloe Levine as Chelsea, Jeremy Holm as the ranger, and then Grant Lehu as Garth, who's the boyfriend of Chelsea, and Jeremy Pope, Bubba Weller, and Amanda Grace Benitez.
Yeah, they play the other punks.
That's the group of friends that go up there.
Yeah. So, do you want to start reviewing it?
Sure. Well, I can't say I completely loved it,
Right.
but I can't say I completely hated it either.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of feel the same way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I feel like the whole story, the storyline as a whole, is a little campy. I don't 100% buy these kids as punk rocker kids completely. They're actually even kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's kind of
Their personalities.
it's interesting because I heard an interview with the director. Who's the director, by the way?
Oh, sure, I'll get that. So the director is Jen Wexler.
So I heard an interview with her about the film, and she was intentionally going for kind of a campy tone with both the look of the film and kind of the depiction of the punks and all that stuff. I agree with you. I kind of feel the same way. I think there's aspects of the film I really liked, and then other aspects I did not like.
Yeah, I thought the kills were really. They had some pretty good, shocking kills or moments, like gore moments.
Yeah.
Where I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
or,
And
whoa, what just happened? Like those were really good. So I feel like the story got a little convoluted and lost its path a little throughout
yeah.
in explaining the ranger and the girl's relationship a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's clear what it is. But I don't know. It got kind of jumbled up a little bit.
Yeah. It's
Like,
interesting.
there wasn't a good flow.
It's interesting. This movie, I'm really torn about aspects of it because I think what they were trying to do was really interesting. So, to me, the ranger represents establishment, and then the punks represent anti-establishment. So it's like establishment versus anti-establishment, which I think is really interesting. And then the story. The story of her childhood, of Chelsea's childhood, is really. I like that there's more than just punks go out into the woods and then get killed. You know what I mean? Like there's a second degree of depth, but I agree with you. I don't think it was quite entirely fleshed out.
Yeah, I just feel like the pacing was off somehow.
Yeah, it felt
In
a
that
little
piece.
pieced together. In the interview, I heard her the director. She wanted to combine the punk aesthetic with, do you know those Lisa Frank stickers? So she was intentionally trying to make the punks really bright and colorful,
Yeah.
which to me goes against an authentic punk look. So one of the things that bugged me, because I didn't know what she was going for
Sure.
art direction wise, it bugged me that the punks' jackets and clothing look so brand new. And I went to art school with a bunch of punks.
Yeah.
And they were all, we were all good friends. And one of the things I loved about their aesthetic is that you could see the history of their aesthetic in their jackets. So like, oh, he added this patch, a couple of years ago. Then he added this paint on the side, and then,
Right.
there's kind of
Yeah.
a weathered authenticity to real punks. So these kids, they didn't look like real punks, and then they didn't act like real punks.
No, they're more. I felt like they're just really disrespectful brats
Right.
than like anti-establishment punks. Do you know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
Like there's
right.
there's a line. There's a fine line that
Yeah.
you can easily cross
Yeah.
if you don't understand that culture.
Right. And in my, my experience with anyone who's a nonconformist, there's an intelligence there. And none of these other kids had that. I think Chelsea had it.
She did.
Her character felt authentic to me.
Yeah.
She felt like what a punk kid is like, a lot of my friends growing up, and in art school, they had kind of rough childhoods. So they kind of went to the fringe because they felt more comfortable there. And I feel like what happens in her history in the movie, it's sort of the same thing, but she respects nature. So when, she sees them disrespecting nature, she gets angry. And I thought to myself, when the other punk kids are doing that stuff, I felt like these aren't punks. These are actors in costumes. Because this
They
isn't.
just seem like bratty kids.
Yeah, it just didn't seem written with the punk aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then there's a sense of humor to punk. There's a certain kind of sense of humor. And if you see classic movies like Repo Man, Suburbia, like there's a certain humor there. And when I knew the movie was going towards a humor element, I thought, oh, I'm going to see some of that stuff. But you're right. I feel like the punk kid side of it, that was not fleshed out.
Right.
And it didn't come off the way it could have,
Yeah.
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because I thought the soundtrack music was great. What I loved about the guy who played the Ranger is he kind of looks like Henry Rollins.
Oh, he does.
So I
You're
thought,
right.
oh man, I almost feel like it's a nod to Henry Rollins, which if they would have gotten Henry Rollins, it would have been amazing.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
But this guy was good.
No, he was good. He was creepy.
Yeah.
So for me, the girl,
Chelsea.
Chelsea, I wouldn't even say she was punk. It's kind of like that typical troubled teen hooks up with a kind of an alternative crowd
Yeah.
type of thing. And then the bright hair didn't bother me because I think it kind of gave it a little more modern look to it.
The what hair?
They're brightly colored hair, the girls.
Uh-huh.
For me, the dudes just weren't convincing as punks at all.
Yeah. It's interesting. I felt like the actors could have been punks. They just weren't written
Yeah,
like punks.
yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say the Ranger was creepy. I thought he was well cast, and Chelsea, because they were the main characters
Yeah.
pretty much.
I thought Chelsea specifically looked punk to me because, you know, a lot of the times punk females, they're switching their hair color. So they're kind of in these transitional phases and their hair doesn't look perfect a lot of the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so the other girl, she had this perfect blue hair and it looked like a wig. It didn't even look like actual hair. So the aesthetic just came off a little posery.
Yeah.
Except for Chelsea. And there's even a scene where they call her a tourist. And I remember watching the movie and going, you guys are the tourists. She's not the tourist.
Yeah.
Because she felt like an authentic punk protagonist. You know, everything she does, it feels... When you take a subculture and you make it one-dimensional, you clearly don't know the subculture. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's sort of like if someone were to do a movie about goths and made them super aggressive. We've been hanging around in goth clubs our whole adult life, and we've never seen a fight, ever.
Yeah.
Goths are actually really polite and friendly people.
I just want to dance and have fun.
Yeah, there's the aggression side is in the music, but it's not in how they comport themselves.
Not at all.
So, you know, that's kind of what I mean. I feel like they wrote the punks in a very one-dimensional way, and maybe that was intentional, but you didn't see them as punks. You saw them as actors in costumes.
Yeah.
Except for Chelsea again.
Yeah. I guess. But then if you get to the horror part of it, I felt like there were some pretty good tense moments, some surprising moments, and some moments like, that's, you know, I don't feel like there was enough of them though.
Yeah.
There could have been more.
Right. And the actor who plays the Ranger looks really aggro. He reminds me of Henry Rollins, kind of intense.
Yeah.
So, I kind of wanted more of that because he is an imposing guy.
Yeah, he definitely was.
And it's creepy. I mean, it's creepy to think of someone with authority, you know, abusing it and being this kind of dangerous person. So I think the premise is really, really interesting and great.
And the premise is good. I feel like they could have skipped that whole reason they went to the woods part because like in the end, it doesn't really even matter. Yeah. It would have been cooler if they had concentrated on them being there.
Yeah. And again, it goes to that not punk authentic. I think what it would have been better is maybe the punks are accused of something that they didn't do. Yeah. Because I think that's more believable. Because I think you see a kid with, you know, mohawk or, you know, kind of the death rocker look. Like, it's very intimidating. But then you get to know them. They're actually really nice people and they're not violent at all. Much less would, you know, attack a cop or whatever.
Yeah, but that part was, for me, was really pointless.
It was very pointless.
If they would have concentrated more of the horror part in the woods, and developing that a little more, I think that would have made a better movie.
Yeah, and another thing too is, you know, in a subculture like that, you kind of bond, you know, and I feel like none of the characters, you never really believed that they bonded with each other and had each other's backs. And I felt like that was a dimension of that subculture that was missing, which,
Yeah.
and
I would
again,
agree with that.
and again, maybe they were just going for kind of a playful, one-dimensional depiction of punks. I mean, that's very possible too.
Yeah.
In the interview I heard from the director, she said, the Ranger's wearing a uniform and the punk kids are wearing their uniform. So maybe it was intended to not feel entirely authentic, but I feel like they could have had it be authentic and it would have had more breadth to the overall film.
Yeah. And I just feel like at the end of the day, it's a horror film.
Yeah.
And they should have concentrated more on the horror.
Yeah. And, with these independent horror films, I think you have to cut people some slack a little bit because they don't have a lot of money. They're shooting it guerrilla style. They're trying to get their film done. And I really admire independent horror filmmakers. And so you got to cut them a little bit of slack there.
Sure.
But yeah, I did feel like there were some things missing in this film. Would you recommend people seeing it?
Like I said, I'm kind of stuck in between. So, yeah, I think you should see it. It's worth a watch. Maybe you'll find something in there that you think is better or worth watching. That's just our opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say watch it.
Yeah, I would also say give it a watch, especially if you have a Shudder subscription. And it's worth seeing, and there's some good ideas in there.
Yeah.
And there's some cool gore horror moments as well.
Definitely.
So, cool. Okay, then I guess that's it for our creepy cabin in the woods episode.
That was fun. It was fun staying here in this creepy cabin.
Yeah, oh man. I really enjoyed this. I want to do it again, to be quite honest with you.
Definitely.
Because it is a really eerie setting.
Yeah, but I definitely want a lake next time because that's even creepier.
Yeah, we're not quite near a lake, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening to the show. If you have already subscribed to the show, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And please stay with us because we're going to keep doing more interesting episodes, including traveling episodes like this one. A couple things I just want to ask our listeners. If you like the show, please rate and review it.
Yes.
On iTunes specifically, because that really helps us to get more visibility. That's one thing. Secondly, if you have a bunch of horror friends, because we run in packs, our horror freaks tend to run in packs. Please share this with your friends.
Yes.
Share our show with your friends, and help spread the word because that'll really help us.
And please give us your feedback. We would love to hear from you on any of our social media outlets.
Cool. Should I mention those?
Yeah, of course.
One more time? Okay. On Twitter, we're at date_horror. On Instagram, we're Date Night Horror Show, all one thing. On Facebook, we're The Date Night Horror Show, all one thing. Please find us there. Please follow us there.
On our website.
And we share pictures. We share all sorts of cosplay pictures of us at different events, and we're going to share pictures of the cabin that we stayed in as well, and videos. So if you want to see any of that extra stuff,
what's our website?
And our website is thedatenighthorrorshow.com.
Awesome.
So, cool. I think we're done with this episode, baby.
Scare you later.
The Date Night Horror Show is written and produced by Enzo and Reina. All music written and produced by Enzo. Find Enzo and Reina online at thedatenighthorrorshow.com. Do you love the show? Then share it with your horror-loving friends and help spread the word.